So one of the biggest ice and snowstorms is about to hit the US, affecting over 200 million Americans. What is going on? Now here is a current map of all the states affected, and some reports are predicting power outages from 1 to 2 weeks. And it's supposed to hit this weekend with all forms including snow, ice, and rain. Now, what's interesting about this particular storm, it happens every 10 years. 96, it broke a record. 06, it broke another record. 2016, it broke a record, and then here we are in 2026. And it's never a good sign when you have politicians fleeing the state, like right here, Ted Cruz was seen on a plane headed to Laguna Beach, California. But good old Ted Cruz may want to rethink California because they just had 16 earthquakes with more on the way. Reports say a rapid fire barrage of 16 earthquakes hit Southern California in less than 24 hours, reigniting terrifying fears that the big one is coming. And not to mention, there's earthquakes in Wyoming and Utah, which almost never happens. And right here is an earthquake map just for reference. And even outside of America, it's getting crazy because in Canada, this weekend is going to be the coldest place on earth with temperatures as low as 50 below. Even Russia just had the biggest snowfall they've ever had in the last 60 years, with snowfall up to 20 feet from December to January. Now, on one hand, it could be weather control with HARP, etc., but while all this is going on, it's important to note that the sun's polarity is about to shift. Now, this event is called solar maximum, that happens every 11 years, where a large number of sunspots appear at mid-latitude, which current estimates predict that the solar maximum event will happen between late 2024, we're already past that, and early 2026. We're here. Now, is this solar maximum event responsible? It may or may not be, but I do find it interesting. It lines up with that 10-year snow cycle I just showed you. Now I'm gonna drop all these maps so you guys can have them in my Telegram, so make sure you guys get in there. But what do you guys think is going on with the weather? Let me know below.
What's good, everybody? It's your brother New Breed coming through with another live stream. And I definitely have my theories about what's truly going on. This storm is unlike any other that we have witnessed. We're talking about the entire I-95 corridor, which I don't believe that's by chance. You know, it seems rather strategic if you ask me. But they're talking about 30 to 50 below temperatures. They're talking about freezing power lines. They're talking up to 15 feet in snow. This could potentially shake the East Coast like never before, where things would never be the same when it comes to when we have states of emergency in regards to weather. But I truly believe that this is weather warfare, and I'm going to explain why in this particular stream. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button. We're going to chop it up on this one. Let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if that intro is running like it should, because I don't hear any audio on my side from it. Let me know soon as that intro play, because we had to troubleshoot that earlier. Let me know soon as the intro play that y'all can hear it by show of ones. All right, let's get to it.
They working against us. They hate our souls. They hate us. They hate our righteous indignation. They hate the exhortation that dwells in us. They hate our love. They hate our conviction. They hate the fact that we repentant. They hate the fact that we truthful, honest, and bold. They hate our courage. Them devils hate us. We're not finna line ourselves up with these weirdos and freaks. With these weirdos and freaks. They working against us. They hate our souls. Weirdos and freaks. But these weirdos and freaks, they working against us. They hate our souls. New breed.
Ephesians 6:10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, and in the power of his might put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints.
As you all know, we got one of the most top-notch intros on YouTube. Peace and blessings to everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Give it up for yourselves. Thank the Almighty you're here. I see you brothers and sisters rolling in. Shawnee is in the building. Tania is in the house. Hello. Kim C is in the building. Cynthia Hatley just 2 times is in the building. Loyalty 2426. Funny Mamacita's in the building. Hayes is in the house. Katrina Bowers. I'm glad to have y'all viewing live. You know what we do on this platform here. We uncover truth. That's what we do. We talk about what's going on in the world, and we dig beneath the surface. Now, this winter storm that's coming, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of things about it that seem off. Seems just downright off. Something's different. You know, the meteorologists are warning about something called a snow thump. I don't know if y'all familiar with this term, but it's pretty much a sudden burst of what they call frontnogenesis. And it's sliding all the way up I-95. That means snowfall rates will be 2 to 3 inches per hour. Now, that's hitting fast. That's pretty heavy. You know, that's the kind of snow that turns highways into parking lots, you know, and not in just hours. This can happen in minutes. So this is a crazy blast of snow. And see, once that corridor locks up, everything locks up. That's emergency responses, travel, supply chains, all of it. And in case you don't know, supply chains travel up that East Coast I-95 corridor everywhere. So we're talking about a major shutdown in goods. We're talking about something that could be utterly catastrophic. And I personally believe that is HARP weather modification. And if it's not, I'm not going to say it's HARP. I believe it is, but so I don't get flagged and I don't get my video removed. Let's just say it's some cloud seeding going on. Allegedly. There's some alleged cloud seeding taking place. And there's actually some people that I want to react to who know a little more about this. And I want to chime in with what I do know. And I want everybody to just get the likes up on the video. I think everybody should see this because this is going to be also a very firm warning, on what to do next. All right. In case of an emergency, things of that nature. But we got to talk about it, right? We got to talk about it. All right. Let's go ahead and look up at your screen here. All right.
I've been waiting to talk about the storm that's coming this weekend because I didn't want to freak people out. And a lot of these forecasts never pan out, but this one is panning out, it looks like. Yeah, everyone's in agreement now that the crazy forecast is actually happening. This is going to be one of those storms you probably remember for much of your life. Basically, more than the eastern half of the United States is going to be below freezing. Most of that below zero. They're calling for, foot and a half of snow all through here, all the way to the mid-Atlantic, and 3 inches of ice in this pink band right here. 3 inches of ice is unbelievably catastrophic. That is worse than what Texas experienced in 2021. There's going to be loss of life. Anywhere there's 3 inches of ice, there's no power. There's not going to be a power line that's not on the ground when there's 3 inches of ice. And emergency services aren't going to be able to reach you because there's 3 inches of ice on the road. That's what's going to happen if this forecast is correct.
Now, that's based on the forecast being correct. Now, they could be wrong unless they're the ones actually engineering what's taking place. They have been off before, but what makes this storm so different is that we've seen this pattern before. We've seen it in 2006, 2016, 96. And what do you get from that, ladies and gentlemen? You get 6, 6, and 6. Yeah. See, they're telling us something here. And this is why I believe that they perhaps are creating this storm. And, but the scariest part might not even be the snow, like this gentleman is saying, it's the ice. Because that ice is going to be south of the corridor. Reuters and national outlets are warning about this catastrophic ice accumulation in parts of the South. That's Texas to the Carolinas, potentially more than 3 inches. And that's where you're going to have a major problem. See, that is power grid disaster territory. That's where trees begin to snap, lines start to collapse, and entire cities can go dark. And when you combine ice with wind, you don't get just an inconvenience, you start getting a real crisis. So what I'm saying is that this thing could be bad. It really could be. But we know we're going to pray for the best, and we're going to stay locked in and stay informed. But let's continue.
The grid's going to fail. Refineries are going to shut down. Water systems are going to shut down. Could knock out a couple of LNG terminals if it goes far enough south on the Gulf Coast. This is going to be a disaster if this forecast is even close to accurate. I mean, a major disaster. Huge natural disaster across pretty much all the southern states. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you live in the pink area, you should plan to be without power for at least a week, maybe a month. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you need to prepare for it because it wouldn't be the first time it happened, okay? This is that. People went without power for a month in Texas in 2021. This is a repeat of that. For you folks in the upper Midwest, where it's going to be like 30 below, Take the largest electric bill you've ever had in your life and add, I don't know, 25% to that or more. Yeah. But more importantly, just be prepared. Thanks. I've been waiting to talk about this.
And I don't know how many of you all remember the storm of 96, but I believe that that was the worst one out of which was the first one, by the way, that you can compare it to. That was one of the worst. So if this is, worse than this one, if this one is worse than that one, it's pretty bad. I remember living in the DMV at the time, and it was pretty bad. We were kids. We were kind of happy because we were out of school for like almost 3 weeks in 96. And I lived in DC at the time, and we had at least 6 inches of snow, and you couldn't even see the highways. It was pretty bad. We had to, for at least 2 to 3 weeks, we had to walk to a nearby convenience store to get all our necessities, all our goods. And luckily that convenience store was open, because if it wasn't, we would have been, in a bad situation. So these things could really take off. And some advice I would give is make sure that you turn a little bit of hot water on. You don't want your pipes to freeze. If you have to run them at a low temperature, something basic, just let that tap drop, make sure those pipes don't freeze. But, this stuff is very real. And if what they're predicting comes true, then more than likely, ladies and gentlemen, it's something that's planned. Weather modification is very real. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's a very controversial topic. So I have to be very careful with my wording here. So just bear with me. But I want to share some information with you all about cloud seeding and how easy it is for the so-called powers that be to do these things. And, some people call me a conspiracy theorist. Some of y'all can relate. Some of y'all are cool nerds as well. And people just feel a certain way when you start, shaking them up with truth and showing them the capabilities that the U.S. government has. And I believe that it's weather warfare going on. It could be a reason to build in more smart cities. It could be an infrastructure change. It could be a lot. It could be some sacrifices going on from those up top. Now we're going to talk about this. We got to discuss this somewhat. I want to talk first of all about the controversial HAARP weather modification. This is a quick video, and this is HAARP weather weapons or research facility. Which one is HAARP? Is it weather weapons or is it a research facility? I want to thank, who is that? Somebody sent me a super chat. That is Verge Creations. Thank you for the support. Says, my local grocery store made $70,000 in sales during Christmas last year. Yesterday, they made $160,000 in one day from all the panic buying. Exactly. And it also could be that Verge Creation. It could be a ploy for panic buying or panic spending. The capitalists could be trying to, create some false fear. And, that's the best case scenario. That's actually the best case scenario. But nonetheless, we're going to see what's going on or the possibilities of what's happening here. Now, here's a little bit of something about HAARP.
Deep in the forest of Gakona, Alaska, lays what has to be one of the world's largest antenna arrays. HAARP, otherwise known as the High Frequency Auroral Research Program, has been shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories since construction work started in the mid-90s. Given the nature of the facility, there has been many claims by conspiracy theory groups claiming that HAARP was designed to control the weather, weaponized to cause disruption and destruction to unaware targets. HAARP has also been blamed for causing the 7-magnitude Haitian earthquake of 2010, which was reported to have killed more than 220,000 people. However, for the record, the Haitian quake was caused by slippage of a previously unmapped fault along the border of the Caribbean and the North American tectonic plates. Other natural disasters such as the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan, the Moore, Oklahoma tornado of 2013, and a landslide in 2006 in the Philippines have all been reported as a result of HAARP use. One of the most ludicrous conspiracy theories is that HAARP was designed to control people's minds, along with altering the very fabric of reality. So what sparked all these conspiracy theories?
Okay, so I'm sorry, the sound went out for a bit. Sorry about that. What I was essentially saying was that the commentator talked about the shift of tectonic plates, and he's basically saying that that's a conspiracy. And the truth of the matter is, they could use this weaponry to actually shift tectonic plates. You know, they have the frequencies to be able to do that. They do a lot of fracking beneath the earth. You know, so the commentator, he's pretty much writing it off as some sort of conspiracy, you know, some type of conspiracy theory, when in actuality, they do have the weaponry. They do have the tools, whatever you want to call it. I call it weaponry because for what other reason would you want to manipulate weather? Unless you're trying to, you know, harm someone. I don't know no other reason why. You know, unless you want your crops to grow, and you can't do that with unnatural rain. You need God's rain. You need the Most High's rain, right? Somebody says, yes, they bounce energy off a ionosphere, aka the firmament. Exactly. Which create vibrations, which create shifts in tectonic plates. You understand? So it's frequencies that they use. Right there, what you see is pretty much a frequency farm right there. That's what you're looking at on your screen. But nonetheless, let's continue. Sorry that the audio went out briefly. I know it can be very, we're working on that, but we're back in full effect. Some people got real quick attention spans, but I'm glad that y'all hanging in there because this is very, very informative. But let's continue.
Regarding HAARP, maybe it was the experiment scientists were performing back in March 2004. Using a 1 megawatt generator, scientists sent radio pulses every 7.5 seconds towards the ionosphere from the HAARP mega array of antennas, which covered acres of land. These radio waves travelled 30 miles up, hitting the ionosphere, which resulted in a modest neon light show visible from the ground. Natural aurora happens when electrons from a cloud of hot gas, known as plasma, rains down from space and excites the molecules in the ionosphere. However, HAARP was able to create a similar experience by sending powerful radio waves from the ground. Maybe this is why conspiracy theories have their concerns and have created these bizarre and ludicrous theories. However, as documented in the Feb 2005 edition of the journal Nature, this experiment was to improve understanding of the aurora and help explain how the ionosphere adversely affects radio communications. After this experiment took place, the scientists were left with a tantalizing possibility that such radio-fueled emissions could one day form the basis of a technology which can be used for urban lighting and even celestial advertising. So the questions are, what is HAARP? Why was it made? how does it work, and who owns HAARP. Now, originally HAARP was owned by the US Air Force, but since 2015 it was handed over to the University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Now, I find that rather interesting because just recently, you have Trump having this issue with Greenland, and he's having these issues with the Northern Hemisphere. And now all of a sudden, we're having this winter surge. They're not even calling it a storm, really. On some news stations, they're calling it a polar vortex. They're calling this thing a polar vortex for a reason, because that's really what it is, a polar vortex. And all of a sudden, this is happening when the research has now been given over to the University of Alaska. I just believe that there's no such thing as coincidences. I believe it's all connected. And, we're already watching a system strain. Thousands of flights have been canceled. Airports have been jammed. People stuck. The shelves are clearing off right now. A whole lot of states have activated their emergency plans, and officials are literally telling people to just get off the roads right now. This is the kind of storm or winter vortex that exposes, just how thin modern society could really fold, how easy it is to bend it in just a storm. One weekend could really ripple on for weeks and months when you really look at America's infrastructure. So weather warfare is a very powerful tool. And these colonizers and these warmongers, they are obsessed. They're obsessed with control and power. And they use whatever kind of weapon they can, man, to just gain control. But let's go.
Technically, HAARP is the world's most capable, high-power, high-frequency transmitter for study of the ionosphere. The principal instrument is the Ionospheric Research Instrument, the IRI. This consists of 180 HF cross dipole antennas spread across 33 acres. The IRI is capable of radiating a massive 3.6 megawatts into the upper atmosphere and ionosphere. The transmit-capable frequencies are selectable in the range of 2.7 megahertz up to 10.
And because they have these frequencies that are manipulating the atmosphere, that would explain why weather has been so weird, man. It's been weird. How many of y'all witnessing this? Somebody in the chat pointed it out, and it's something that I noticed too. Somebody says, and that is Empowered Educator. She says, the weather is given in a state of confusion. She says the weather is even in a state of confusion. It's been summer, spring, and fall all winter time. I mean, she's not lying. It's like you're not getting seasons anymore. It's more like the whole atmosphere is confused. And I think it's because of all of the work they're doing, all of the research and experiments that these people are doing. That's why the Most High got to do something about this place. Because if he don't do something, no flesh will survive what evil scientists and mankind would do to this damn planet. I'm telling you. But let's go.
10 megahertz. Since the antennas form a sophisticated phased array, the transmitted beam can take many shapes over a wide angle range. This also results in multiple beams being formed. As well as HAARP using active antennas and transmitters, it's also capable of passive reception, which is used to only monitor or listen. This must be the best receiving station on the planet. HAARP radio waves heat electrons in the ionosphere, anywhere from 60 to 80 kilometers altitude, but this can also extend as far as 500 kilometers altitude. Now, this creates small perturbations that are similar to the kinds of interactions that happen in nature. With HAARP, scientists can control when and where these perturbations occur so they can measure their effects. Now, with all that said, what do you think about HARP? Have you ever heard it on air transmitting? Well, if you haven't, here's a clip of what it.
So what he just said is that they can target wherever they want weather to hit, whatever type of weather. Because we're going to put this in layman's terms because there's a lot of science jargon that's being spewed right now. But basically what he says is they have a direct weather weapon. Am I tripping, or did he not just say they can aim this thing exactly where they want it and they can change the atmosphere? Now, for a storm to go up the I-95 corridor like it's traveling, like it's like a vehicle. How is this storm traveling like a vehicle? Look, we're going to go up I-95, a major connector, a corridor, an actual corridor, a major connector. A corridor is a long tube. In case you never heard of the term corridor, it's a long tube that you can basically go in multiple directions and it's all connecting to something. You're telling me that a storm is traveling that way? Am I a conspiracy theorist, or is this weird, y'all? Is this weird? I mean, talk to me. Are we reaching when we know that they have these capabilities? Just something to consider, right? Just something to consider.
It sounds like.
Yo, I've heard this before. I have heard that sound before. And it was while traveling one time, and I was going from Georgia to South Carolina, and I thought I was tweaking. I heard this frequency before. I'm telling y'all. And it rained. You know, the interesting part, it rained that whole weekend. Now I'm over here putting two and two together, man. These people are really on one. These people are on one.
Now, here's one final thought, which
Yo, this is how you know that we are in the Matrix. Anytime they can manipulate frequency to cultivate an environment, change weather, manipulate the atmosphere. We are in the Matrix. This is a simulation we're in. You got these people trying to play God, but that does sound like some dial-up. Somebody said it in the chat. It sounds like that old AOL dial-up. Straight up. That is diabolical. That is diabolical. Nasty work.
I only discovered while doing my research for HARP. A user on the internet has created a map which apparently shows more HARP stations around the world, located in many countries. Now here's one, which is apparently in the UK. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever heard HARP while they were transmitting. Now I believe they performed some experiments only a couple of months ago. Until the next video, stay safe.
Yeah, I mean, now this is just one thing it could be. It could be HARP. What it also could be is something called cloud seeding. If y'all heard of that particular term by show of ones, put it in the chat if you heard of cloud seeding before. All right. HARP is one of those controversial topics, you know, nonetheless, this stuff is very much real. Now, this video right here really describes how they can increase rain and snowfall. This goes into depth, how cloud seeding can increase rain or snowfall. See, that's the name of the video. And I'm telling you, I believe that that's what they're doing. For those just joining this storm that we're seeing, okay, I see the ones. This storm that's about to come, we witnessed it in 2006, 2016, and now we're witnessing this storm in 2026. So that gives you 666 right across the board. And I believe that these Satanists are using some type of weather modification system to control the weather. Now, whether they're doing this to do some type of reconstruction, perhaps they're doing it to start a new smart city, implement some changes when it comes to emergency response. Maybe it's a ritual, some type of sacrifice. I don't know, but foul play is written on this one. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I'm doing my research over here, and it's looking like something is more ominous taking place. But we're going to get into it. Let's go.
Are prepping this plane to fly into the center of a storm. Flares on the wings and fuselage will inject a substance called silver iodide into the storm clouds, causing water within the clouds to freeze and increasing the amount of precipitation that falls.
We can't make a storm happen, and we can't create conditions in the storm that are ideal. Those happen naturally, and what we're doing is just taking advantage of existing conditions, naturally occurring conditions, and trying to make the storm, again, more efficient from a water supply perspective.
It's called cloud seeding, and it's
Now, I can understand why you would want to make more water come for plants, vegetation, but why on earth would you want to increase snowfall? Why would you want to increase snowfall? Why? Unless you want to shut down certain cities. I mean, you want to stop travel. You want to stop people from being able to maneuver. Just something to consider, right? Let's go.
as futuristic as it sounds, it's been around since the 1940s. Today, states, utility companies, and ski resorts alike pay companies like Weather Modification International significant money to seed storm clouds and increase snowfall in the drought-ridden American West and worldwide.
So they're using them for ski resorts and so forth. Now, could it be possible, ladies and gentlemen, that they're using it just because they can? Are they using it on various highly concentrated areas? You know what the saying goes, right? Absolute power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. With this type of power, there's no telling what they're going to do.
Current project is about $4 million a year. We're very well supported. We have a lot of local stakeholders that are investing in it.
Until recently, the evidence for cloud seeding's efficacy was murky, but research has finally shown unequivocally that it works, and there's been no evidence to show that the seeding agent, silver iodide, is harmful at the current level that it's used. Blestrud says that Idaho Power sees an 11 or 12% increase in snowpack in some areas that it seeds, while Karkit says Turlock's program results in about 60 to 90,000 extra acre-feet of water every year. While it's no cure for the West's historic drought, dozens of cloud seeding programs across the country are ramping up right now as winter gets underway.
Now, notice what they just said here. They're ramping up. They're ramping things up, knowing that winter is approaching. So we know that now we know they have the capabilities, without a shot of a doubt, to make more snow come. We know that without a shot of a doubt that they have the ability to do it. All right? No doubt about that. Let's go.
These are the flares that we will use when we're above cloud and we need to get the flare down into the cloud. When we're in cloud, we will be using the burn in place flare, which can be ignited from the cockpit one at a time. They burn for 4 to 4.5 minutes and they just trail smoke out with the silver iodide.
The world's first cloud seeding experiment, back in 1946, was a bit more simplistic than Zimmer's current setup.
There was a group of scientists back in New York that worked for the General Electric company. They released some dry ice into the top of a supercooled stratus cloud and caused ice to form. And that ice formed and used up the available liquid water of the cloud drops, and the cloud seeding was thus born.
Supercooled means liquid that is below its freezing point but hasn't yet crystallized. Injecting silver iodide into clouds that contain supercooled liquid water causes droplets to freeze together and form snowflakes, which fall to the ground when they reach a certain size. Absent the freezing process, these supercooled droplets wouldn't become heavy enough to precipitate as either rain or snow.
The cloud initially...
This is man playing God. And see, this is why the Most High is going to judge this place. This is where things get real janky. This is where things get real janky right here, because listen, family, listen. Just because people hear the word weather modification and immediately think that we're crazy, but we could be telling them the truth, showing them the truth, and show them that cloud seeding is not a conspiracy. It's real. And they still would believe that this is an act of God, while all these people may lose their lives. See, government and private companies have openly admitted for decades that they seed clouds using particles, using this silver iodine to enhance snowfall and rain. Some Western states have used this for water supply altogether. China has used it as well before major events. So the reality of the situation is, right, man has already been experimenting with precipitation. The question becomes, how far have they gone with it? How far have they gone? Why isn't this discussed publicly more? And why does it seem taboo when we sit here and have these conversations? Why, when we talk about it, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist? Why do we have to slap that term on people who are just intelligent? Since when have everyone who's intelligent become conspiracy theorists? No, I think that more people need to know about this so it can be questioned out loud, because if they're claiming lives based on experimentation, somebody has to hold these people accountable. There may be cloud seeding going on around you. There may be heart weather modification that have claimed the lives of your loved ones. There may be lawsuits on the table. And because of the lack of knowledge, we are being destroyed. So I think this type of topic is very important for us to really discuss what the possibilities are. Let's continue.
Is all water. Eventually, as it gets toward the summit of the mountain, it may be 50% ice, or maybe more than that. Even if it is, there's still a lot of liquid water left there. And the precipitation that's forming has a very short time to get big enough to fall out before it crests the mountain and starts to descend and thus warm. And so that's the window of opportunity.
For cloud seeding pilots, this is when they fly into the storm, which is no easy task.
The first thing we do for safety is turn on all the aircraft ice protection systems. Weather radar is important for us so we don't get into a convective environment like an embedded thunderstorm or something like that.
An average flight lasts between 2 and 4 hours.
By the time the wheels are up, you're in cloud, and we're in cloud the entire mission until we're shooting an approach back into an airport and then pop out of the clouds and have a visual on the runway. Yeah, it feels like you're a sub commander in the Navy. You don't see anything.
Zimmer seeds clouds for the Turlock Irrigation District in Northern California from November through April every year.
We do a pre-flight check and take off.
You hear that? Through November through April every year on the West Coast, just so they can get enough rain to survive. Pretty much enough rain so it's not a complete drought. Now, what does that tell you? What is a sign? Let me tell you another reason why man is doing this. I want y'all to answer this. This is a little pop quiz question, right? I'm going to ask y'all in the chat. For what reasons do droughts come? Biblically, why does God send droughts to certain places? Biblically. Let me see if y'all can answer that in the chat. Why does God send droughts where no vegetation, crops come, no rain is coming? Why does he do that? What is that a sign of when God himself holds the rain back? Somebody said it, famine. And the culprit is what? Sin. Famine and sin. Disobedience. Disobedience. One moment. All right, let's go. Let's go. And on the West Coast, you know you got Hollywood. On the West Coast, you know you got Hollywood. You got Holly Weird, where a lot of sin, a lot of judgment, a lot of wickedness goes on, a lot of idolatry goes on. So what do they got to do to try to make up for that every year? So we at this place in America where every year they got a cloud seed in the times where the weather is supposed to be producing its own rain. Let's go.
And head to our seeding area, which is over the Sierra Nevada mountains. If we are flying in cloud with decent supercooled liquid water, the most effective tool we have is the burn in place flare on the back of the wing, because it's going directly into the cloud and mixing with that supercooled liquid water. If we're just above cloud or at cloud top and we're a little bit colder than where we want to be with the burn in place flares, we can transition to the ejectable flares, which shoot the silver iodide down through a warmer layer below us to find that -5 degrees Celsius level where they're most effective in forming ice.
From a water supply perspective, it's most valuable to seed clouds over mountains, where the water is stored as snow until the spring runoff.
If you put it in the mountains, the drainages coming out of the mountains often have reservoirs on them, and so you can capture it that way. When it's out on the plains, such as North Dakota, it's still a benefit because it helps recharge soil moisture. But it can't be stored and used for a later date.
Texas, for example, uses cloud seeding to help irrigate fields for farmers, while states like Idaho, California, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming use it to help fill up their rivers and reservoirs. Most use planes to do cloud seeding, but some programs use ground-based flares.
There are multiple utilities, both south of us and north of us, that have cloud seeding programs. It's a lot more common than people think. More basins have a seeding program than do not have a seeding program.
You hear that? More bases have the seeding program that don't have it. So, you know, this is a little bit alarming to me because this is something I didn't know. This shows us that the earth is mourning, that Babylon is really going through it, and it is a drought. And they literally have to manipulate the weather in order to get the bare necessities. Because things are not, because listen, the Most High does famine and drought when there's too much sin, when he's judging the land. And we've already witnessing that. We already are seeing that. So that's alarming right there. Yep. Somebody says, I think it's interesting that humans think they can outwit God. I think so too. And you see the great lengths they got to go through, all the science, how they got to try to make this thing work, not understanding that all of that's going to be dealt with. All of that's going to be dealt with. But nonetheless, let's continue. This is interesting. And I also want to go into more about what's happening with this storm that's on the way. So stick around because this one could get really bad. This one could get really bad. I personally believe it's a man-made storm that's coming. And I think they strategically planned this storm. And I'm still trying to discover why. But I believe that question will be answered very soon. Let's go.
For much of cloud seeding's history, its success was measured by comparing the snowfall in an area where cloud seeding occurred to a nearby control area.
And then you look after cloud seeding happens, and if there's a shift in that, so you get more than what's expecting in the target area, then you can equate that to cloud seeding.
This method convinced many states and utility companies like Idaho Power of cloud seeding's efficacy long before tech was good enough to actually see the changes taking place within the clouds themselves. However, there were still plenty of skeptics, given how hard it was to verify cause and effect due to the many variables at play in a storm. But a 2017 collaborative study between various universities, Idaho Power Company, and the National Center for Atmospheric Research, called SNOWY, gave researchers a clear visual of what happens as a cloud seeding plane zigzags through a storm.
And so you could actually see the cloud turn from what's called a super cool liquid water cloud, a cloud that has a bunch of water that's below freezing but stays in the liquid state. And then it started to turn to ice, and it started to grow to a snowflake.
So as you can see, they can turn a rain cloud into a snow cloud. And it's almost like they're looking for increment weather so they could just do whatever it is they want to do. So they could take a cloud that's only going to produce a couple tons of rain, and they can turn it into something monumental. They can turn it into something that can be catastrophic if need be. Satan using man to play God, man, is what these people are doing. And see, let's be clear about this. The cloud seeding, it's not creating storms out of thin air, but it does summon blizzards. You know, they have an actual control room, and it amplifies what's already present. These are the facts. And see, it gets deep here because when you have a system already unstable and you create more disruptions, you're going to have Arctic outbreaks, record moisture. You're going to have small interventions. And then, of course, you got all these ethical questions that they seem to, all of the power companies and everybody seem to be okay with it. Nobody seems to be pushing back. You shouldn't be playing God at all. It's going to be catastrophic because of that. Anyway, let's continue.
And the radar can then see those snowflakes on it, and they could start to see that zigzag pattern there.
The ultimate impact of cloud seeding varies according to location and the nature of the storm. The studies show an overall 5 to 15% increase in precipitation can be expected. A small percentage of that total will be absorbed into the soil, while the rest will become runoff that's hopefully stored in one of the West's shrinking reservoirs. The Turlock Irrigation District has a max budget of $475,000 per year for its cloud seeding program, and says it's seen a 3 to 5% increase in runoff since it started seeding in 1990.
It's percentage-wise, and it's within the realm of natural variability. It's one of the things that makes it so hard to evaluate is you don't see a doubling or a tripling of the precipitation. You see an incremental increase, but you add that up over the course of a winter, and then it can be significant.
And cost-wise, Bo says that it's almost always worth it.
It's kind of, well, I won't say a no-brainer, but it makes a lot of sense to water managers to go ahead and do it. Even if the increase is on the order of a few percentage points, it's still cost-effective to do it.
When you run the numbers, Blestrud says the multi-million-dollar cloud seeding program that Idaho Power oversees yields billions of gallons of additional water at a cost of about $3.50 per acre-foot. That's compared to about $20 per acre-foot for other methods of accessing water, such as through a water supply bank.
So the water companies are in on it, and they feel like that it takes off a percentage of what they have to produce, what they have to clean. And right now we're talking about irrigation systeming. You know, so if they're using HARP to extract water directly from the clouds, essentially what's being said is that's going to cost irrigation companies, you know, that's going to help irrigation companies, you know, by a few percentages. But what about all of the bad that can be done? What about floods and all the loss of life that can take place? How many deaths do we have from somebody messing with the weather? That's the question I gotta ask. Proverbs 16:4. The Lord has made everything for his own purpose, even the wicked for the day of evil. That's right. So even man is being used. But he gonna have his reward. He gonna have his reward. Straight up.
States in the lower Colorado River Basin, like California, Nevada, and Arizona, are even helping fund out-of-state cloud seeding operations in the upper basin states, like Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado, hoping excess water will make its way into their lower basin reservoirs.
States are putting money into those programs, knowing that they have no legal claim to any of that water. But since the locals already have enough water, they're figuring the additional water is likely going to pass down into the Green and into the Colorado and make it down their way. So to them, it's very worthwhile to do it.
While cloud seeding is most commonly used to increase precipitation for drought alleviation, it can also be used to suppress hail and clear fog around airports. Internationally, there's been concern that cloud seeding has led to increased flooding, such as in the UAE. This remains unproven, though some experts are pushing for an international body to regulate weather modification activities. So far this year.
So let me get this right. There's not even an international body that regulate weather modification activities. Now, who's overseeing this? Who's overseeing this? I think it's the Illuminati and them people, man. Or it's got to be some majorly rich folks, because you telling me this doesn't. The world should have an eye on this, just like the world got an eye on who got nuclear capabilities. Somebody said it's David Icke. You telling me we don't even know who oversees this stuff right here? Yo, it got to be the globalist elite. Somebody said it could be Elon. I want to know who it is. Because globally, everybody should be in agreement. Like, hold on, y'all got the ability to do what? How do we know y'all not going to use this as weaponry? You got people in Dubai saying that, look, they believe that some of their flooding came from HAARP. Yeah, it got to be the secret societies and bloodlines. We got to, I mean, listen, the way my mind works, I got to find out now. Now I want to know who, now I got to look at what businesses are connected to HAARP weather modification. Now I gotta know who's been sponsoring these businesses. Who's been financing them? Is it Vanguard, BlackRock, the Rothschilds, or the Bilderbergs? Who's doing it? Because there's no oversight. Who's doing it? Is it CIA? Who is it? Is it aliens? What the hell? You're manipulating the weather. Anyway, let's go.
This year, the Turlock Irrigation District has conducted 6 cloud seeding missions.
We're flying below average right now. We're hoping we get that atmospheric river to show up and bring more moisture to California.
Now that studies have validated the efficacy of cloud seeding, and as the drought in the West persists, interest in this decades-old tech is peaking both nationally and globally.
We're busy right now. We have new contracts starting in the Middle East. We operate in India, Canada, Wyoming, Idaho, California.
Right now, we have deployed every aircraft that we have access to, that the company owns. We don't have anything sitting in reserve.
But as seeding operations ramp up for the winter, Bo warns that this tech can only go so far when it comes to alleviating our water woes.
So California is in some trouble. You know, that's why in all of the movies, California starts looking like a desert wasteland, you know, in the last days. In the post-apocalyptic the scenic portions of these movies, California look all burnt out and dried out like it used to look in the Wild Wild West, the old Wild Wild West films. Because look, without cloud seeding, they not getting no rain over Cali. Not even just Cali, the West Coast in general. That's interesting. But listen, we're going to get into this. We got to cook because I got some warnings about this storm that's coming. I got a couple of sources that I want to go to. You know, there's some military personnel giving some warnings about what's going on. There's certain apps that have been created that were designed specifically for power outages. And all of a sudden, like clockwork, these apps are being initiated at this moment. And it's just a lot. You know, they show you without showing you that they've already planned a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to go into more evidence to show you that I personally believe that this storm that's coming was planned. That's what we're going to do now in this portion. You know, we're very thorough about what we do. And, you know, let's get to it. Let's get to it.
So look, y'all been hearing about that storm that supposed to be coming, right? So why the hell is they even putting it up as a planned service outage will occur on January the 22nd, which is today?
That says a planned service outage. Now, this is U.S. Weather Services that put this out here. U.S. Weather Services put this out here. And I'm going to read it real quick. It says a planned service outage will occur on January 22nd, which will impact some of our services for most of the day. Critical services, warnings, and forecasts will continue to be provided by NOAA. Weather radio stations will be off air. Radar data from KMUX will be unavailable, and interruptions to climate summaries and regional temperatures and precipitation tables are possible. Have multiple ways to receive warnings. Severe weather can disable communication systems. So it's like they already planned for these systems to be pretty much disabled. They already planned for them to be disabled. So let's get into it.
So in certain areas it's starting up, which will impact some of our services for most of the day. And hold up, we gonna get into the situation about how the fuck y'all meteorologists and anchormans and such on know what the fuck gonna happen and predicting things before it even fucking happen. Simple reason of because they got patents on everything. So this shit is not a whole creative situation.
Yeah, they got patents. Listen, method of making and distributing snow. Yeah, listen, they have patents on this stuff. US 2676471A. Inventor John Way M. Pure. Currently assigned Manufacturing Corp. TEY Manufacturing Corp. Yeah, they got actual patents for this. These people are sorcerers, bro. These people are sorcerers, and Lil Bro going hard. Lil Bro like, hold on now. See, you listen, Judah be all over this stuff, man. Yeah, but anyway, let's go.
Y'all as creating the situations. Method for making and disturbing the snow. This invention relates to a new and useful method of making snow and installation for the economy, manufacturing, and application of snow as covering or coating for ski trails or the like in such quantities as to be useful for skiing and other winter sports.
Now, are you telling me that they doing this for winter sports? No. The same pattern, it goes for this current weather that we are seeing on the horizon. Yeah, it's the same patterns, man. Let's go.
Fuck y'all winter sports at this damn point. It ain't that fucking serious. I create a thing because y'all want to create and y'all want to make excuses about it, which is the whole time it's patents on that shit. And that shit been up there since 1948, 49, 50. Y'all don't see what's going on in Russia? Over motherfucking 15 feet of snow right now. This shit ain't no, oh, God did this. No. These motherfuckers got patents and know how to do things to fucking hurt humanity. Let that start right there.
Sorry about all of the foul language. I think little bro from Tennessee too, because you know, in Tennessee cats, they don't say humans, they say you are human. You're a human being. But no, he's right though. I mean, since the 40s, they have patented this weather modifications. You can look right up on their sites and see the patent numbers. You know, are they doing this for winter sports along the Mid-Atlantic region? I doubt it. I think this is really about, I think this is some type of sacrifice that happens every so-and-so years. You know what I mean? Shout out to all my Tennessee people. We all just Hermans at the end of the day. We all just Hermans. But anyway, man, Lil Bro is on it though. And let's get to it.
So basically, y'all sitting by damn near the whole South pushed out the patent US 2676471A, the method for making a disturbing snow. This shit ain't regular. When the life first had started on the planet, y'all gotta understand that we never did have cold seasons. Y'all made season the same way that y'all made the calendar. Same way that whenever y'all made the calendar and y'all ain't agree up on the shit, y'all started to take away a month from the calendar. Then y'all started to fuck that. Hey, New Year's ain't in March, where the fruit bear the seed. Now it's January with the 1st. Y'all got like fucked up, gang. So if y'all ever think that these people really for y'all or got anything for y'all in store, that shit cooked. They manipulating everything. Hey, y'all let me know what the fuck y'all think in the comment section. So
Do you live in the States right now? Because have you checked the news? There are 3 states that are being issued to stay inside, not because of the chemical warfare, but because there's these particles in the air that can cause.
Sorry about that, y'all. I got muted. Sound check. We back. So what I said was, before I transition to this video, I just kind of reinforced what Lil Bro was saying. That's all. I just reinforced what Lil Bro was saying. You know, they do have patents on these things. And thank y'all for letting me know immediately. That helps out so much. It doesn't allow too much dead air. And it keeps everything going. Y'all, thank y'all for that. Checks and balances. And what Lil Bro was saying is right. You know, they've been doing this since the 40s and 50s. Yup. All right. And y'all make sure if we back, make sure y'all get the likes up. Make sure y'all get the likes up and we gonna get to it.
Cause heart attacks and significant health concerns and could potentially kill you, but it's not an attack, and it's not from spraying the skies, and it's not from forcing chemicals into the air all the time. Make it make sense. Do you live in the States right now? Because
see, we got to understand a lot of the things that they're doing is hazardous. A lot of things that they're spraying in the sky, even when it comes to cloud seeding, is things that can affect people's health. And a lot of people don't understand it can come. This is why they're dealing with chronic inflammation, you know, cardiovascular stress, respiratory issues, hormone disruption, you know, long-term disease risk. All that's coming from that ish that these people are spraying up in the sky and the clouds and warping and distorting reality, trying to change up things. Listen, that's what they're doing. It's causing the health problems. Some of you all don't understand why you having so many allergic reactions. It's these damn colonizers, these devils that are going around playing God at the expense of the people, man. That's what it is. They playing God at the expense of the people. And it's nasty work, man. It's nasty work. Let's go.
Twitter founder Jack Dorsey just launched a messaging app that works without the internet. It's called BitChat, and it works without Wi-Fi, mobile data, or even a SIM card. Here's how it works. BitChat breaks your message into small parts and sends them through Bluetooth signals from one phone to another until it reaches the right person. Like digital gossip, but fully secure. If the other person is close, boom, message delivered. Too far? Nearby phones pass it along until it gets there. You don't need accounts, phone numbers, or even stored data. Messages disappear after a while, leaving zero trace. Whether you're stuck in a blackout, lost at a music festival, or just tired of big tech spying on your chats, BitChat has your back. BitChat is built for moments when the internet fails or when privacy matters most. The future of messaging might not need the internet at all.
Now, why is this important right here? Because this is being released right while America is in the midst of having power outages on the whole East Coast for months at a time. So, I just thought I would share this with you all because, listen, I believe there's some strategy to when they release this stuff. I believe there's some strategy. Yeah, BitChat. BitChat is what it's called. Yep, somebody says the name is wild. Yep. Somebody says, I have asthma. I'm sure it's caused by all of the spraying. Right. Somebody says substituted missiles for chemical metals and it's still war. Absolutely. It is definitely still war, man. It is definitely still war. And let's see, you had a military commander that I wanted to show y'all that was making his warnings, and I'm going to chime in with this.
Urgency is essential. When I look around the globe, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and others are increasing their collaboration and their cooperation as their interests align against us. We see this clearly in Ukraine. While President Trump pushes for a peaceful resolution to a horrible war, China continues to fund Putin's war machine. Iran continues to supply technology and weapons. And North Korean combat troops remain in Russia on Ukraine's border. And of course, there's a confluence between Russia, Iran, and Venezuela and their dark fleet of oil tankers that is helping to fund the war. In the Arctic and the high north, we see a similar trend. Russian and Chinese vessels are conducting more and more joint patrols. Chinese icebreakers and research vessels are in Arctic waters, and their research is not for peaceful purposes.
They're in Arctic waters, and their research is not for peaceful purposes. They're in Arctic waters, and their research is not for peaceful purposes. I believe that. I think this is all connected. And for whatever reason, y'all, I can't unsee it. It's very strange that you have what you see going on in Greenland and how Trump called it just a piece of ice and why they are so fixated. And I mean America. Why is America so fixated with going to Greenland? See, there's some wars that are being fought that I don't think a lot of people quite understand. And when you start piecing this stuff together, you just can't unsee it. There's a lot of resources that they're gathering there. There's a lot of minerals. There's a lot of weaponry. I'm telling you, they're doing something in those Arctic waters that I can't tell y'all exactly what it is, but I believe they are creating polar vortexes. I do. Now, I know that sounds like something straight off the Sci-Fi Channel, but this is just the reality of the situation, man. Somebody said it's the Club of Rome. These people are advanced with weaponry. I believe that they are creating polar vortexes, and it seems that they're modularizing these things. For real. Military portals. But I don't want to go too deep. Y'all gonna be like, man, this dude just, sheesh, bro. Where you going with this? Hey, man, the truth is out there. Let's go.
It's to gain a military advantage. Russia, meanwhile, continues testing advanced capabilities in the Barents Sea. As new shipping routes emerge and new resources are discovered, the Arctic only grows in strategic importance.
The Arctic only grows in strategic importance. You have a military specialist saying that, look, they over there for something war. They over there for some war capabilities. They over there digging up Sub-Zero for Mortal Kombat, y'all. They on one right now. They trying to figure out how to do polar vortexes. They're trying to figure out how to get weaponry. They're trying to get a military advantage. I would not doubt that they're experimenting on people. Oh, the rabbit hole goes deep. Yeah, the rabbit hole goes deep. Let's go.
And all of this comes in the midst of an increasing hybrid threat. Airspace violations, GPS and GNSS interference.
Now, what do you mean a hybrid threat? What does he mean by this is a hybrid threat? Meaning this is something that we've never seen before. And, you know, lately Trump been flexing, man. He been flexing. He like, look, we got weaponry that can shut all the power down. You know, when they kidnapped Venezuelan president and his wife, Trump said, look, we got some blackout. We got some blackout technology where we could just shut every damn thing out in seconds. And he's talking about a hybrid threat from airspace. From airspace. And they all up in Antarctica. They all up in Greenland and Iceland, and they all up there for what? What are they doing? What the hell are they doing? I'm telling you. I believe that the military vet is telling us something. I believe he's telling us something. Let's go.
And the Shadow Fleet in the Baltic Sea threatening underwater infrastructure. In short, the Arctic and Northern Europe by extension has become a front line for strategic competition.
Are y'all hearing this? They said it has become a strategic place for competition, war stuff. Yeah, real Stranger Things type of stuff going on. There's probably some damn ice Nephilim out there. There's probably another demon out there that's giving them more technology. Yeah, manipulating the polar vortex is what they're doing. This is high-level sorcery. Look, the so-called powers that be, they are high-level sorcerers. I'm not even supposed to be on here telling y'all this, man. If y'all see this video disappear and it's on damn Patreon somewhere, you know why. We're not even supposed to be thinking about this. We're not even supposed to be tapping in like this and being on code and really breaking down what they got going on. You know, right now we supposed to be on the internet arguing or chiming in on somebody else's argument or being messy. And that's what we supposed to be doing. We ain't supposed to be talking about this. But I believe it's a lot of truth to what we talking about, y'all. What say you?
Within NATO, Allied Command Operations, the command that SACEUR oversees, has taken steps to strengthen our deterrent posture, much of which is oriented in that northern region, here. Just over a year ago, we established Baltic Sentry, an activity to protect that critical underwater infrastructure. In this past fall, we developed Eastern Sentry.
There's underwater infrastructures. Forget everything that you heard. Listen, Atlantis is real. There are also underwater infrastructures. There's underwater military bases. All of this stuff exists. They're not telling you all this, but look, there's places in Antarctica
To increase our...
There's places in Antarctica that you are not allowed to go. There's places in Antarctica that they cannot go, that they're trying to go. There's places that they can't go, and there's firmament blocking them. But there's underwater cities, there's underwater prisons. Look, we can really shake up the hornet's nest and then go beneath the rabbit hole here. Like, there's a lot of things that exist that people just don't talk about. But it's true. Yep, somebody says they got cables and pipelines under there. Like, listen, the magnitude of what they got going on is enormous, y'all. It's crazy. They trying to hide a lot, especially underwater. Especially underwater. Somebody says, I'm glad it's critical thinking people in the world. Absolutely. Me too. Because it seemed like, although I don't have a huge platform, a huge viewership or nothing like that, but the fact that I got people who are intelligent, it means the world to me. Because it's hard to talk about this stuff out and about. Because people just, they don't want to hear it. Even the whole concept of Aquaman, it's real. Yeah, it's places in Antarctica you are not allowed to fly over. You just can't go there. They got facilities in these hemispheres that you cannot know what's going on there. And that these facilities exist in ice and underwater cities. Somebody says Plato wrote of these things, right? There are civilizations that we don't know about. There are civilizations that exist in this world that we have never even been able to be in touch with these people. That's how deep it is. There's whole civilizations that we have never touched bases with. We don't know what language they speak. We cannot talk to these individuals. We can't even cross over to even make contact with these people. Well, we know they're there. How do we know they're there? Because they got instruments and tools to use in these vortexes to see that there's people over this side. There's civilizations over there, but we can't get to them. And I'm talking about humans. There's human civilizations that exist in this world. A lot of them in this hemisphere of the world where this military commander is talking about, it's near that hemisphere. I want you to think about the ethnogenesis that we have had in our development. You know, being, being exposed to all seasons, being exposed to the things we see and how it shifted us, how it changed us, how it changed our skin texture, our eyesight, all of that. There's places in the world, I'm not talking about another planet. We're talking about it's places in this earth where there's different species that exist, different versions of humans is what I'm trying to explain to you, that exists because of their ethnogenesis and where they are and how they developed. That's how deep it is, y'all. Oh man, y'all look, they like, man, bro, you might be on one. No, the Bible, listen, the Bible breaks all this stuff down. Don't get it twisted. This is a Bible channel, and everything I'm talking about can be proven. And there's certain topics that I want to touch on where I'm going to really go deep. I'm going to really go deep. Yeah, we're going to play this again because what he just said, I know I interrupted a few times, but he's saying some things that I know to be true. Some things that I truly thought about when it comes to Antarctica and what's going on at that part of the world, man. Like, what are they over there doing? And why is Trump so concerned about Greenland right now? Let's go.
Agility and further integrate our air and missile defenses on the eastern flank.
Wait, this is not at the beginning, so I'm going to play this from the top. I'm going to try not to cut it off because he's still dropping Jews. He's still dropping Jews. Y'all know I'm into this military war stuff. I be wanting to know what the hell they're doing. So I'm going to play it from the top.
Divergency is essential. When I look around the globe, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and others are increasing their collaboration and their cooperation as their interests align against us. We see this clearly in Ukraine. While President Trump pushes for a peaceful resolution to a horrible war, China continues to fund Putin's war machine. Iran continues to supply technology and weapons. And North Korean combat troops remain in Russia on Ukraine's border. And of course, there's a confluence between Russia, Iran, and Venezuela and their dark fleet of oil tankers that is helping to fund the war. In the Arctic and the high north, we see a similar trend. Russian and Chinese vessels are conducting more and more joint patrols. Chinese icebreakers and research vessels are in Arctic waters, and their research is not for peaceful purposes.
Now, I believe China, Russia, and America, they just rush in there because they all know something is there that they need. They're all trying to get to that place underwater. They all trying to get near that ice. They all know. And this would explain why America is on the case. Trump like, no, we gotta get Greenland. We gotta set up. We gotta get whatever resources we need. He's scared because he know if they get a hold of it, that we're going to be at a major disadvantage. He knows that. But let's go.
It's to gain a military advantage. Russia, meanwhile, continues testing advanced capabilities in the Barents Sea. As new shipping routes emerge and new resources are discovered, the Arctic only grows in strategic importance. And all of this comes in the midst of an...
Now, why is the Arctic growing in such strategic importance? Why? Because there's a couple reasons. Somebody said it. Man, y'all on it. Y'all on it. Leviathan, man. Leviathan. See, I'm thinking that this is something that they're trying to get a hold of, but only the Most High can actually control it. That's what I believe. It's something that man thinks that they can get a hold of it and get some supreme power. I do think that it does have something to do with weather modification to a degree, but I also believe that it's something else that man thinks they can control, but it's really something biblical. D-Mac, thank you for the contribution. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but wickedness, principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world. Absolutely. You right on it.
Increasing hybrid threat, airspace violations.
He calling it a hybrid threat is crazy. It's hybrid. Let's go.
GPS and GNSS interference, and the Shadow Fleet in the Baltic Sea threatening underwater infrastructure. In short, the Arctic and Northern Europe by extension has become a front line for strategic competition. Within NATO, Allied Command Operations, the command that SACEUR oversees, has taken steps to strengthen our deterrent posture, much of which is oriented in that northern region, here. Just over a year ago, we established Baltic Sentry, an activity to protect that critical underwater infrastructure. In this past fall, we developed Eastern Sentry to increase our agility and further integrate our air and missile defenses on the eastern flank. More recently, in just the past month, we've realigned the boundaries of our joint commands, and now Joint Force Command Norfolk brings together NATO's activities in the Arctic under one command, allowing us to better defend all allies in Europe, in the Arctic, and the strategic approaches to North America. Allies are also working together closely on Arctic issues. At a recent Arctic Chief of Defense conference, we agreed to increase our understanding of activity in the Arctic, to enhance our domain awareness, and to increase our own activities and exercise of urgency.
It makes sense. It makes total sense why Trump is moving like he moving with Greenland. Leviathan is melting and waking up and moving. It makes total sense. They're afraid of something. And then, okay. Yo, this is biblical, y'all. This is prophecy coming true. And mankind is just trying to get in front of it. And in case y'all don't know what Leviathan is, some of you all may not be that aware of the terminology. You know, the Chinese call it Godzilla. You know, the Most High God has creatures that will come in the last days. You know, one, his name is Behemoth. Some people call him Bigfoot, but there is actually a land creature that is massive in size that actually exists. The Bible calls him Behemoth, but then there's another creature that you could compare to Godzilla. You got another amphibious creature. And this is all biblical. And it lives under the water, and it will come from the north. And this is Bible. We're not talking is more so compared to a dragon, but not necessarily a dragon, but it's close to a dragon. And these things exist, man. You know, if you ever watch Game of Thrones and you see all of that, listen, that stuff exists. That stuff been around. All of the Marvel comics and all that stuff is real, fam. All of it is real. Somebody said Godzilla is Japanese. Well, I meant Japanese then. My bad. Somebody says, I think the Leviathan lives beyond the ice wall. Well, some would say that it's frozen underwater, and it could be beyond the wall, but it's definitely supposed to come out of the water. It can unthaw, come up out of that water, and it is what it is. See, they don't tell us everything. The U.S. military, the U.S. government would never sit up here and just tell us everything they got going on. Yeah, only the Most High can control those beasts. They shouldn't even be rushing to get over there. And just the fact that the world is in such turmoil where there's so much warfare going on between China, Russia, Iran. You got all this warfare taking place. They can't even get on one accord to see what's going on. No, they got to fight for it. Who has the advantage? Let me see. Somebody says these creatures just taking a nap. But for me, it's like when they waking up. For me, it looks like they're waking up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, look, everything that you've been taught is a lie. You know, giants exist. They just uncovered some new giants too. All through the hills of Afghanistan. Anybody who was stationed over there back in that last war with Afghanistan, man, there was so many people with giant sightings. There was actual footage. That's back when you can release footage on YouTube without, and this is before AI. There was footage existed before AI, y'all, where there was giants, man. There was 16-foot people. There was 18 to 25-foot people in caves. Like, this stuff is real. Everything that Bible talk about, the Nephilim, everything that Bible talk about is 100% real. Yeah, the movies tell us too. Yeah, somebody said the earth is huge. Exactly. It's a whole lot going on that they don't want to talk about. And, you know, I'm going to also give us some real live updates. I'm going to give us some updates on this storm because it seemed like the storm was a bit delayed. I'm going to read this scripture about Leviathan real quick. Job 41:1. And it reads, "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook?" Ooh. "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook, or his tongue with a cord, which thou lettest down?" Lettest down? Lettest down. Why? Because he's underwater. He's underwater. "Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn?" Absolutely not. They can't do nothing with the gods, with the Most High God's creation. And this is why the Japanese call him Godzilla. They know it's created by God, the Almighty God. They know that thing is too powerful for them to go use their technology and go grab him, go through the Arctic seas, go under the water and think they're going to go ahead and hook him up. Like, y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. I wish I can be a fly on the wall to see when Leviathan wake up and blow up a few of y'all damn bunker busters. They're going to be trying to drop bunker busters on him, y'all. And he's just going to be swiping them Jones away. He's just going to be waving his hand and then planes just going to be exploding. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see all that. Let me see. Somebody says, oh, we got to read now. People want to know about this. We got to talk about Leviathan. We're going to get some storm updates here in a moment, but we're going to build on this for a minute because y'all sharing the scriptures. See, this is when you have an intelligent audience that got it. Job 41:9. "Behold, the hope of him is in vain, It says, shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? Damn. Shall one not be cast down even by the sight of him? Is none is so fierce that dare to stir him up. Who then is able to stand before him? Man, y'all think it's a game. They think it's a game. The U.S. military, they don't think the Most High God has their number, bro. He has your number. Yeah, I got my popcorn ready. I know that I have a God that's going to fight on our behalf. Look, I'm telling y'all. Let me I want to pull up something here. I'm going to do some updates to see what's happening, because they say that storm was delayed. It's supposed to come tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where it's at right now. As an hour ago, I don't know what they calling this storm exactly, but I'm pretty sure it started. And of course, we believe it's cloud seeding. We're going to do some live coverage just to check up on people. I was calling people all yesterday. Making sure my family's straight, because I got family all across I-95 corridor and down south. And I had to make some phone calls. It started. Oh yeah. Widespread chaos across the country. It's bringing heavy snow and ice already. So we're going to get a live update and what's going on, because I'm pretty sure it's starting right now. And we're just going to look at that real quick. And I'm going to share a little bit more about cloud seeding and heart weather modification for those who are unaware. I know it's people that's just joining the broadcast. And in case you are just joining, a little fun fact here. This same catastrophic storm came in 2006, 1996, and now 2026, which is 666. And the news has, posted this up everywhere. So we know that something more daunting might be going on. And so what we did was we did our research on cloud seeding, weather modification, to see if it's possible that they can be controlling this weather. All right. So that's just something to consider, right? Let's see what the news is talking about. Is this a ritual? What's going on? Let's check it out.
And good evening. That unprecedented, potentially catastrophic storm has now begun its life-threatening march across much of the country. More than half of all Americans are in the storm's path tonight. In the Midwest, millions are being pounded right now by blinding snow and powerful winds. While in Texas and Oklahoma, that monster storm is firing up with snow and plunging temperatures. Look at the storm's path. Few states will be spared as it plows its way east. Governors in 16 states have declared states of emergency already. Across the storm zone, you see this, empty shelves as worried residents raid supermarkets. Just look at this long line outside one in New York. Forecasters warn the ice down south could cripple major cities, halting traffic and possibly knocking out power for millions for days.
Now, when you get this type of snow and ice, there's going to be no type of emergency rescue. It's impossible. And so this is why I always say, you need to practice one of these amendments. How many of these lights you see, right? That amendment. You need to practice your amendment. You need to get it together. And the reason I say this is because it's impossible for them to come through. It's impossible. You need what you need when somebody come a knocking that don't belong there. You just need what you need, man. Telling you, this is, I know it's, if you haven't learned by now, that's what your Second Amendment is for. The book of Luke says, sell your cloak to buy a shield or buy a sword. Sell your cloak to buy a sword. Anyway, and in case you know, if you survive this storm right here, keep that in mind, because you never know when these things going to take place. You got to have your tools ready. You know, this is not one of those religious. This is not one of those religious platforms. You got to be ready out here. This ain't one of them platforms that's going to tell you should get your head dashed across the stone. That if somebody break in your home, you're going to sit there and pray for them. Somebody got your wife and children and they trying to violate them. What are you supposed to do? Sit there and pray for them? God forbid. No, you're supposed to get them out the way and not hesitate. And here's a little fun fact. I worked in the firearm industry for years. You want to aim for this area right here. You want to aim for this area right here. It's the biggest target on the human body. You want to aim right here. You liable to hit something right here, or a lower. You're liable to hit something. That's where you aim at. You aim for the torso. It's the biggest target. Aim for the torso. And don't hesitate. Defend your family. The Most High God doesn't want you to be passive in a situation where it's a snowstorm. Somebody kicks down your door trying to find goods that you already prepared for. You done already prepared your goods. You done got your generator. You done got your canned goods. You think, listen, at that point, you know they don't belong there. They just don't belong there. You defend your family at all costs. Stuff is not a game, I'm telling you. In a situation like this where you know there is no type of rescue coming. They can't come. Anyway, let's go back to our storm update.
More than 5,200 flights have already been canceled for the weekend, and that's likely just the beginning. Parts of the Northeast are in a foot of snow or more. Bill Karen standing by to time out the storm, and our correspondents are spread out across the storm's path. We begin tonight with Emily Aketi.
Tonight, a triple threat of blinding snow, life-threatening cold, and ice. Chaos already unfolding on roads across the country. High winds in Iowa nearly flipping this semi-truck. And drivers facing near zero visibility as lake-effect snow in Michigan turns highways into white walls. Police in Indiana warning of slide-offs on the road after this vehicle got stuck in the deep snow. And the bitter cold tonight punishing, with wind chills plummeting to minus 31 degrees in Chicago, and in Duluth, a staggering minus 51.
Wow. And you know, after the snow and after the ice, then you're going to have what you call a deep freeze. And that's when that Arctic air starts crashing behind everything. And that's going to cause everything to refreeze. And I'm not talking about just refreezing soft ice. You know, I'm talking about making everything solid. So even when all of that is done, it could be a month before people are back on track. You know, those are outages that's going to last days, even when the deep freeze comes. You know, I'm telling you, these extremes are becoming a new normal in America. You know, the whole atmosphere is about destabilization. That's what America seems to be now. And for the record, y'all, this is America's most important corridor. I got to bring you back to that. That's why I said this is very much a major issue, because the I-95 corridor is very important. And to see that our main corridor of transport is fragile, that shows you something, man. A Babylon is being weakened and destabilized. When I-95 shuts down, it's more than just traffic. That's a sign right there. The I-95 ain't no joke, y'all. That's our biggest transport station, our trade station, our biggest. The I-95 stretch across the whole damn country, damn near. And for whatever reason, this storm seems to be traveling on that pathway. That's why I believe it's a man-made storm. But nonetheless, let's continue.
But for power crews, the work never stops.
I got about 5 layers of clothes on.
It is pretty cold. It's probably 0 degrees right now.
And this isn't just a cold snap. Below freezing temperatures could last for the next 10 days, coupled with more than a foot of snow in parts of the Northeast.
The dangers that we're talking about now is not just the potential of an enormous storm with a significant amount of snowfall. It is the aftermath.
That fear triggering a run on the essentials.
This is my second day trying to get gas.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about, the aftermath, bro. The aftermath. We got to talk more about that part. And see, that's why I believe that things won't quite be the same after a storm like this. And we're going to explain more about that, because it's a little bit deeper than what people can really just understand. But I'm gonna explain it to you.
We are out of kerosene heaters until tomorrow.
From the nation's capital to the south, where shelves are being stripped bare.
They're out of eggs. There's no bacon. There's no butter.
Ryan Chandler is in Texas, where ice is the biggest threat.
This Dallas hardware store is all out of propane, sand, rock salt. Customers rushing to prepare in the last hours before the freeze hits.
Inside the largest power plant in Texas, preps for a winter storm have been underway for months. Priscilla Thompson is there.
Operators in this control room are monitoring supply 24/7, using these panels to get power to the grid. And if there's a problem, they pick up this red phone and alert the state.
And this, family, well, we got to understand. See, the part that most people don't understand is the aftermath. Is often worse than the storm itself, because the snow, however, the snow is going to be very dramatic. The ice is going to be very problematic. You're going to have videos going viral. But after all that is the real test, the silence, the strain that the grid has to face. Roads being frozen solid. People realizing that in this modern world, it only can be stable until everything just changes. It could be running smoothly, but this so-called nature, because I believe it's man-made, but it's going to show how fragile things really are. And because when ice starts snapping, power lines and transformers start blowing. And then no longer it's about winter convenience or inconveniences. It becomes survival mode, Imagine heat going out for a long time. That's where really the lives get claimed, when those damn power lines, not the power lines, but the transformers, they start blowing. When you ain't got no heat, when gas stations can't pump fuel and grocery stores are closed, that's when it's a problem. That's when a lot of the casualties end up getting claimed. That's when things get bad, after the storm. But I'm telling you, this is something that, we got to really take a look at. But I'm going to continue.
In Georgia, there hasn't been an ice warning this severe in 12 years. Kathy Park is in Tennessee at a transportation nerve center.
And y'all know I'm in Georgia. And, of course, we had to go get prepared. You know, we had to do what we needed to do. And everything I'm saying, if there's any Georgians up in here, let me know in the chat. If you're in Georgia, let me know what part of Georgia you're in. And, you know, because, you know, we got to stay connected. Because you're living in a time where millions of people are dependent on a constant infrastructure. And just a few days without power can feel like a whole civilization just hit pause. You know, desperation can kick in soon as it's a few days with no power. And you'll find out just how uncivilized civilization really is. Then you have that Arctic air coming back for the refreeze. You know? And you know, in Georgia, man, these plows ain't going to be able to keep up because they're not used to that. Whole lot of emergency vehicles just going to be stuck. Multiple car accidents because people can't drive out this junk. I'm telling you, you know, these type of storms, what makes them different is they don't just pass through. You know, they trap regions. You know, there's pretty much frozen lockdowns when you have, you know, storms like this. But let's continue.
Here in Memphis, this hub, powered by more than 100 traffic cameras, will allow dispatchers to identify wrecks and roadblocks in real time. Then they'll be able to deploy the essential resources to help motorists and emergency crews right away.
There have been at least 16 states of emergency declared so far, as governors issue an urgent plea: stay home and off the roads.
Our greatest concerns remain unsafe travel and power outages that could last for days.
Now, workers scrambling to trim trees and mobilize equipment, hoping the infrastructure holds against the weight of this massive storm.
Emily Aketa joins us now live. Emily, from New York City, where you are. Grocery stores here across the country also have been swamped with people all day.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. We're just now seeing a break from the lines that had spilled outside of this grocery store. What I want to show you is what's happening on the inside. You're going to see shelf after shelf bare, and with workers trying to restock those.
See, this is why you can't do this stuff last minute, man. You know, the grocery stores are packed, but it ain't no damn groceries in the stores. Ain't no groceries. And, you know, I'm going to tell y'all, when you think about I-95, right? And I'm very aware of the I-95 because I lived DC, Virginia, the Carolinas, I use the I-95 for everything. And I get it. The I-95 corridor is not a joke. But it's not just a highway. It's like, look at it as the artery, the main artery of the East Coast. Imagine clogging up the major artery to your heart. And this includes the nation's capital. Now, when that corridor slows down, everything slows down. Deliveries, travel, commerce, hospital staffing, emergency response. You know, people don't realize how much of America is built on constant movement. So when a corridor collapses, you're watching more than just traffic. You're watching a pressure point of the entire system being revealed. And that is a problem. Why? Because we're in all this conflict right now. America is rushing to the Arctic lands to try to, you know, gain momentum and gain leverage in war. Meanwhile, the artery of your nation is turning cold. Literally. The main artery is turning cold. While you out here wilding out trying to go to war with everybody, while you out here disconnected with NATO, at odds with NATO, our only allies. America wants to be at odds with NATO Trump is speaking out against them at the World Economic Forum when America only pays about 16% of NATO. And I did my math. I crunched my numbers. It's a very low percentage of our defense budget that we even give to NATO. So it's like Trump out here just trying to make enemies with everybody and not have no allies. Meanwhile, the heart of your nation is going through it. You know? You can't tell me that these people ain't trying to bring America to an end. You can't tell me something ain't seriously wrong with these damn devils. And then if we can get into the psychological shift that's happening, how people are feeling right now with all that's going on. Let's go.
Shelves, these images harken back to the panic buying during the pandemic. And take a look at this, lines weaving through grocery stores across the country as millions prepare, Tom, for a potentially historic storm.
People scrambling to get whatever they can. All right, Emily, we thank you for that. I want to get right over to Bill Cairns. Bill, the storm is a monster. Time it out over the next 72 hours for us.
Already treacherous in areas of Oklahoma, North Texas, Dallas. After midnight, your temperature goes below freezing, and it may not go above freezing till Tuesday afternoon. That's the big story with this. Huge storm, long duration cold snap after it. We're going all the way from New Mexico to Maine with our warnings, and the ice storm warnings are of particular importance because you could lose power for days. We're talking these areas in blue, East Texas, all the way through northern half of Louisiana, especially the northern half of Mississippi.
Look, they got Atlanta up there. And, you know, keep in mind, the news like to fear monger. The news definitely likes to fear monger. You know, we know that that's a possibility, but we do know that there's already some places that are really getting hammered by this storm. Nonetheless, we don't have no fear. We're not afraid. We just know that, you know, we got to pay attention. That's called being wise, being informed. You know, you see Atlanta up there, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, Washington. I got family all over those places. You know, where you see the pink at, I got family off in Charlotte, friends in Charlotte, all up through these areas. I mean, I haven't seen no snow out here yet in the Georgia area, but it's coming. It's coming. And then look, there's a psychological shift taking place. You know, there's a spiritual shift taking place with people while all this is happening. You know, psychologically, people feel it. You can see it on social media, the fear, the unease. You know, a lot of people are sensing that the seasons aren't even normal anymore. Storm after storm, record after record. And now people like us are starting to ask deeper questions. Is this just weather? Are we entering some type of new era? Is the world under some type of bind because of all of the wickedness? Are y'all making these storms? Is God's creation under the weight of man? Is God's creation under the pressure of what man has done? And see, an aftermath of a storm like that will force people to slow down and start confronting themselves, you know, because you got to think about how quickly comfort can disappear. And that's a problem in America. Like, do you understand how quickly your comfort can disappear? And this is the reason why we always talk about land initiatives. We always talked about putting our resources together, having a plan and a contingency plan, because people get so comfortable and don't understand how quick that can go away. One moment you can be on your high horse, you eating good, you watching your big screen TV, you happy, you're warm, you're cozy, and then it can turn around quick. That's the reality that should set in. That's the reality that should set in. 1 minute, you could be on your phone doing some endless scrolling. The next day, everything can change. I want to read this scripture. It's Isaiah 24:5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the law, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant, therefore have the curse. That's what's happening on this earth. That's right. Pressure bust pipes. Pressure bust pipes. Let's continue.
And then this area now from Atlanta extending through the upstate of South Carolina, through Richmond, possibly even up close to Washington, D.C. That ice force has gotten worse in the last couple of days. As far as snow totals go, historic in Oklahoma City, Louisville, not often you could get a foot of snow out of this. Same for areas of Cleveland. In the Northeast, if you're all snow, 12 to 18 inches, a little bit of a mix in D.C. and New York will keep your totals down a little bit. And talking about the cold after this is Monday morning, Tom. 21 degrees in Houston, 5 in Memphis. There's going to be schools closed across the board.
A lot of negative temps as well. All right, Bill, we thank you for that. Some states already seeing some action. Oklahoma City is set to get the worst of the storm. Candace Sweat from our NBC Dallas Fort Worth station is there. And Candace, it's already begun.
I know some people in Oklahoma City too. I have to check up. It's just crazy, man. Say they're gonna get hit the worst. So if it's anybody in Oklahoma City viewing us live right now, let me know you're in Oklahoma City, so we can make sure we check up on y'all later. Make sure we check up on you. And this is the reason why we put you towards NewBreedGlobalTruth.com to get your love notes. This is the reason why, because all love note holders, you would be in my central hub. And when things like world catastrophes take place, I can actually check up on you. That is the benefit of being a love note holder, not just the fact that you can get, discounts on the items on my site and other merchant hubs, but the fact that once you get yourself a love note, if a major catastrophe happens, we're able to reach out and say, hey, you may get a complimentary call, a complimentary email to check up on you. All right. So on newbreed.com, get yourself a love note so we can actually stay in touch. When there was that Ohio train derailment, all love note holders got free cases of water. We were able to send them all water. All they had to do was send us a message and we were sending them water. We seen they were love note holders and we looked out for them. This is what we do over here. We're not just going to talk about these issues without having some type of plan in motion to make sure, because some of you all may not have that much family. You may not have nobody who's reliable. But this is not just a YouTube community. This is a community of like-minded people, and we like to look out for each other. All right. So make sure you get your love note so we can make sure you're straight throughout this storm. All right. Let's continue.
We're expecting a mix of rain, sleet, and snow any minute now, with the situation worsening over the next 72 hours. We're talking Oklahoma could get about 10 inches at least of precipitation. But I want to give you a look at where we are now. We're at one of the hubs for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. That is a big pile of sand and salt. That's what's being used to treat the roads all across the state. What we're looking at is about 3 or 4 stories of treatment. That's a lot. And then I want to take you over here to one of the loading trucks, cranked up and ready to go. These are the trucks.
Oklahoma looks ready. They look pretty ready. I mean, these are the type of salt trucks you want to see. This is a good sign. You know, in Georgia, you're not going to see them do it like this. Oklahoma, they've experienced these type of things. Somebody said it in the chat. Is the climate change weakening the polar vortex? That's a great question. Is HAARP weather modification and cloud seeding weakening the polar vortex? Yup. That's real talk.
that are keeping hundreds and thousands of tons of sand and salt moving in and out of this hub throughout the state, throughout the night, ultimately with the goal to keep people safe. Tom.
Yeah, that first line of defense so the snow doesn't turn into ice. We thank you for that, Candace. The flight cancellations, they're already stacking up. George Solis is at the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina. And George, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, Tom, we've been at the airport all day as people scramble to get on flights before they're grounded. This big board here expected to look a lot different in 24 hours as there are more delays in cancellations. Already, airlines have canceled more than 5,000 flights through the weekend. Travel app Hopper is estimating some 15,000 delays before the weekend. Now, there's going to be disruptions across the country, but major airports at Dallas, Atlanta, here in Charlotte expected to be impacted the most, and major airlines like American, Delta, and United urging customers to reschedule or even waiving some of those rebooking fees. Tom?
It's going to be a mess for travelers. George, we thank you. We thank you for watching. And remember.
Wow. Major storm, major storm. I want to say this, that this storm is not really about the storm in this moment. It's about the aftermath. The message is the aftermath. And what this should remind you, what this should remind the Most High's people is that society is one disruption away from chaos. So stay ready, stay aware, keep your household prepared physically and spiritually. Because the times we're moving into are not going to be a calm season. Not the season that people have once knew. When you look at what's going on in America, the change is inevitable. So stay prayed up, stay in the truth. One love to everybody joining. It's been a great broadcast. Of course, I got more material coming. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for joining. Y'all have been nothing short of interactive. If you want to support my work, as you can see right there on your screen, my Cash App has a QR code next to it. You can feel free to support me via Cash App. Join me on Patreon as well, y'all. I got some content on Patreon that I cannot release to the public. I mean, I was on my Patreon today and I was looking at some of the videos I have up there. And some of you all, if you haven't seen what I have on my Patreon, you need to go watch them. I talk about everything from sex magic rituals to the Illuminati, to how they select presidents, to Freemasonry. I mean, if you want to really dig deep, go on my Patreon and make sure you become a member, right? And I just want to thank y'all. And also on newbreedglobaltruth.com is where you get your love notes. And of course, we got all kind of organic soaps, natural products and things of that nature as well. Hebrew Care is the products. So anyway, I want to thank each and every one of y'all. Y'all be blessed out there. Stay safe. Thank y'all for joining. Till next time, shalom and peace.